Welcome to the series, How to Teach Preschool Ballet. In this section, we're going to talk about how to run a great class. We just talked about what to do before class begins to lead the way to a great class. So now what? What do you do during your class? In this section, we'll talk about the different parts of your class from start to finish. We'll talk about how the class flows and how you and the students should participate in the activities. In this first video, I will address learning the students' names quickly, the importance of having big energy when you teach, and how to start class with something interesting. First, learn the students' names as quickly as possible. It's much easier to keep control over a class if you know each child's name. I learned very early on if a student is not paying attention, saying, "Hey you," doesn't cut it. The student won't look at you unless you use their name. And if one student's not listening, it'll make it much harder for you to run your class smoothly. Once one child's not listening, more will follow. Using name tags is a great solution. This way, on the first day of class, you can go through your class without having to think about remembering names. Instead, you can concentrate on what you'll be teaching. However, here are some tips about what to do if you don't have name tags on hand. So when I'm teaching a new group of students, I have them tell me their names often. However, taking time out of class to stop and ask names can lose the class's attention. So find a balance. If you have a small class, this is not as much of an issue. But with a full class of preschoolers, you don't want to stop and take time out of class to ask their names. First, I make sure I have the class roster with me at the beginning of class. When the children come into the room, I introduce myself to the parents and children and ask for each child's name. Seeing the name on the list, along with the child's face, will help me remember their names. I sometimes then write a description of what the child looks like by their name. This is especially helpful if I have more than one child with the same name in class or twins. The next thing I'll do is try to memorize the students' names before class begins. If we have some time as we're waiting for the other children to arrive, I'll ask each child their name and maybe their favorite color, food, or character in a story. "Hi, tell me your name and what your favorite color is." Another time I ask the student's name is when we're stretching or playing creative games. I love playing games while we stretch to make it more interesting for preschoolers. When you're stretching, the students are sitting down and you can ask them questions about the game you're playing. If we're making a pizza in straddle, for example, I can ask everyone their name and what topping they would like on their pizza. If we're pretending to be royalty, riding on horses and going on an adventure, I'll ask each student where they want to go or what their horse's name is. The more repetition I can have, the better. I also take the opportunity to ask the student's name when we practice leaps or go under a parachute. Whenever I feel I can ask the students' names and hold the class's attention at the same time, I will. You'll have a much easier class and impress the students' parents if you learn names quickly. Now on to having big energy. Throughout your entire class, you should have a lot of energy. The students really feed off you. Whether you're happy and energetic or distracted and tired, they will follow. When I dance big. I reach and stretch and jump as high as I can. I know if I mark my movements, my students will too. I want to set a good example of how to dance full out. During each of my pregnancies, it was not possible for me to dance as big as I wanted to. I was also advised by my doctor not to jump, although it was uncomfortable anyway, and I couldn't touch my toes. My preschool students didn't understand this. If I didn't jump very high, they didn't. If I didn't touch my toes, they didn't. I had to remind them many times to dance bigger than I danced. I had to use more vocal commands to tell them what to do. It was a challenge, but with my voice, my facial expressions, and the parts of my body that still could move big, I got through those times. Another factor that helps keep the energy of the class going is during class I'm in constant communication with my students. I feel like I'm talking all the time. Either I'm giving directions, giving encouragement, or telling funny jokes. This keeps the energy up and the class flowing smoothly. Preschoolers will mimic your energy. This is actually true for any age group you teach. As teachers, we need to be fully present at each class and dance and talk with full energy in order to have the best class we can. Now, on to the start of your class. It's a good idea to start your class with something different and interesting. How are you going to grab your students' attention? Don't start practicing pliés over and over. Start with something preschool friendly. When I teach a ballet class to little ones, I always start with an upbeat song to encourage my students to jump and move around. It's great to see the children's huge smiles when they skip and chasse. They say this is going to be a fun class right away. They also start to trust me right away because they're having fun. Usually shy children will come out of their shells as well when fun music is played. Reading a short story or part of a story is also something I like to do at the beginning of class. Let's continue with the example of Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. You could find a book about stars that's appropriate for preschoolers. If it's a short book, you could read the whole book at the start of class. If the book is longer, read just a few pages each class. Another option is to play with props. For example, start with a parachute game or give the students stuffed animals to play with. Props will also help shy students or students that need extra help focusing join the class easier. I will address how to deal with shy or unfocused students in another video. Make sure you capture the students' attention right away. This way, they'll be excited for what you have coming up next. Thanks for joining part 1 of how to run your preschool ballet class. The next video will focus on how to structure your class and the benefits of using props.